All right, here we go. Hi, Toria. Welcome to the Meetup Spot.
Hi, thank you so much for having me, Nigel.
All right. Okay. Again, Toronto is doing all right.
Yes, Toronto, it's nice and sunny outside. We're having a great day.
Mhm. Okay. All right. All right. So, Toria, tell me about yourself and your growing up story.
Well, Nigel, I started out at a very young age with competitive dance. I started
Ooh.
competing at the age of 5 years old. Um, then, by the time I was about 12 or 13 years old, I started having some joint dislocations and some issues with hypermobility. And so my parents had brought me to the doctor, and the doctor suggested I go into a sport that would support my joints more, that would help me develop more muscle. And so I started doing more gymnastics based training with
Ooh.
a private coach. This coach, he was actually an Olympic level gymnast. So this coach was absolutely incredible to work with. I learned so much from him. And his spouse was a circus performer as well. So I had the ideal training from both sides of the coin. I had gymnastics training and circus training with both of them combined. And before I knew it, I already started performing with their troupe at a fairly young age, like even in my teens. My very first show I did professionally, I was only 14 years old. Yeah. Um, and before I knew it, by the time I was 18 years old, I started going out by myself and doing shows professionally all on my own without the support of my coaches. And that leads me to today.
That's awesome. Olympic level gymnast, huh?
Yes, yes,
That's good.
Rosanna Mendra.
Oh, oh, that's awesome. So I wonder. I want. Sorry, I'm feeling nervous today. So what's it like training with these performers?
It's very inspiring. It was absolutely incredible just being nurtured by them at such a young age. I was able to watch their work ethic, just how hard they trained, and just allowing their dreams to allow them to guide them through the rest of their lives. It was absolutely incredible to witness.
Beautiful. That's beautiful. So, Toria, why do you do what you do?
I love making people happy and putting on a performance and seeing the amazing smiles and the response that I get from the audience. It makes my job incredibly fulfilling.
Nice, nice. So, Toria, what made you in? So what made you interested in contortion?
You are going to laugh when you hear this.
Oh, wow.
When I was very young, my dad and we used to watch horror movies, and that's not usually something you would say. That's not something you usually see with young girls. However, that's how my dad and I really bonded. I always loved anything to do with Halloween, and nothing really ever scared me. But when I watched The Exorcist, which in my opinion is just the most amazing movie, I saw the scene where the character Reagan McNeil was bridge walking down the stairs. And when I saw that, I went, oh, I can do that. And
Oh,
I was unfortunately giving my parents a heart attack because I started literally practicing bridge walking down the stairs. And then I watched other movies. Like I watched The Ring, for example, with Bonnie Morgan, who's a contortionist.
oh
And
yeah,
I
of
very
course.
quickly realized that there's contortionists working in TV and film, and they're earning a living from it. And not just in a traditional sense either, by running away and joining the circus. They're able to do so in a really meaningful and impactful way where the work that they do can truly leave a legacy behind. So that's really what inspired me to get into contortion. I saw contortionists being the creepy, crawly things in horror films, and I went, I want to do that. That's really neat.
That's interesting, though. So that's also the reason why you're also a creature actor, right?
Yes, that's right.
And also some of your dances are like monster themed, though, right?
Yes, absolutely, they can be
Oh, of course.
sometimes.
Of course, I see. Because yeah, based on your Instagram and what you do. Okay. So, how do you keep on refining your craft?
I am consistently training and working on refining my skills. I'm always working with new coaches to get a new set of eyes to watch me doing some skills, learning new techniques from different people. I also am very fortunate because I get to collaborate with other leading artists within the industry. It's absolutely incredible the amount of people that I get to work with. And I think that's how you continue to refine your craft. Is you're always learning and growing from new people and you never stop learning.
Hmm, nice. So where do you get your inspiration for your dances?
Hmm. I would say primarily just with my life experiences. I
Oh,
find the most beautiful way to express yourself throughout the art forms is when you're able to showcase true stories that happened. And that's how you can truly leave an impact on people because it's stories that people can directly relate to because it's something that they likely have experienced with themselves and within their own lives to a certain extent. Um, does that help?
it's fine. It's fine. And how did your skills give you opportunities?
I was very fortunate because at a young age, these skills were harnessed, and I was I was essentially taken under the wing of my coaches, and I was given opportunities to start performing at a very young age. I've been fortunate because I've been able to turn this into a full time career, and not everyone can say that when it comes to performing as an artist. That's sort of unfortunately where the saying goes, the starving artist saying. That's where that can come from. Um, and I can say that I'm very fortunate because I don't have that experience. Um, I've been able to work as a full time circus performer. I also coach. I'm also within the acting industry. And yes, I'm very, very lucky to be doing this full time.
Okay. So so when was the first time you performed your dances and what was going through your mind when you did that?
So when I was 2 years old was the very first time that I stepped foot onto a stage.
Two
Yes,
years.
so I was 2 years old. My parents had enrolled me in a dance class because I was the type of kid who could not stop moving. And you know how there's toddler classes where you go and you take classes with your parents. That was sort of my first experience. So what they do at the end of the year is they have a little showcase where you get to put on a little costume, you get to perform for the other families of the other children who attend the school. And I was only 2 years old, barely potty trained, honestly.
Oh,
My mom always jokes that she always likes to bring up the story because nowadays I'm very confident the stage is my very favorite place to be. However, when I was just 2 years old, I was so nervous I had actually peed my costume.
that's embarrassing.
It's embarrassing. I was only 2 years old though, so I didn't really remember. But my mom always likes to bring up this story because it's hilarious to her. She had to run to the washroom and try to clean me up as best as I could, and then quite literally throw me out on stage, and that's it.
Hmm. And this isn't so that was your first time.
That was my first time. Yes,
And you've gone to perform you have perform a lot since then?
a lot since then. Uh, Likely within like over thousands of times now at this point. Um, because when you think about it, I started out as a competitive dancer. So I was competing on stages, at least within five competitions every single year. And I had up to 18 routines, for example, each year that I competed. Um, and then as a professional, I've performed on several stages as well with several shows a day with certain contracts. So I've lost count at this point.
Okay, okay. Okay. So what was your first ever performance where you performed your contortion tricks?
hmm. Professionally or as an amateur?
Amateur, yeah.
Amateur, sure. Um, I was 14 years old, and this was it's actually the same year that I performed it as an amateur. It was actually the same year that I performed it professionally as well, which is wild. Not too many people are able to say that. I competed in acro contortion solo at dance
Ooh.
competitions. The piece was called Near Light.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
Different title from the one that I believe you're going to bring up later on.
Oh, okay.
Completely different. Um, but this piece, it was just an instrumental piece of music. And as an amateur, quite simply, it was just a combination of dance with acro and contortion tricks mixed in. Um, and when I performed this, I had actually dislocated my shoulder on stage.
Oh, oh, oh. So like, okay. And professionally.
Professionally, much later on that year, in September of that year, I've been given the opportunity by my coach to actually perform at a VIP event for the Toronto
Oh,
International Film Festival at the ROM,
oh.
which is the Royal Ontario Museum. So it was my first professional opportunity where I was, taken under the wing of my coach. He was the adult who was there and supervising me. However, I was given the opportunity to perform for various actors and VIPs at that event, and it was an incredible experience to have that at such a young age.
Oh, that's nice. You got to you sorry. You got to see some big names.
I did, yes. At the time, it's funny too because I didn't quite know who everyone was and who I was performing for
Oh.
in the room at the time. At 14 years old, there's some things that you're not actually allowed to watch on TV. So I
Oh.
wasn't I wasn't super aware of all the famous people that I was performing for. So it was definitely a neat experience to also be able to reflect on that later on in life as well.
Hmm, nice. You've done two dances for the DAT project. Tell me about the DAT project.
Yes, absolutely. So the DAT project, it was essentially a dance and a circus competition that was happening right before the pandemic hit. And unfortunately, it was impacted by the pandemic. They had to shut down the competition by a certain point. So I believe there were several rounds.
Oh.
I made it through several rounds, which is why, as you can probably see on YouTube, there's several different videos
Hmm.
that were on there. And that's because I had competed for several rounds of it. Um, I believe the third round was canceled for in person
Oh.
auditions and performances because the pandemic hit and we had to go into lockdowns just for everyone's health and well being. Um, but it was an incredible opportunity. There were amazing judges there that gave us direct feedback. There was, from what I recall, Jennifer Nichols, who's a choreographer who I'm very fortunate to actually work with nowadays as a professional, and Deborah Brown, who I've also worked with, and she was a choreographer for Cirque du Soleil, for example. I'm trying to remember who the third judge was, but it was an amazing experience, and I'm really glad that I had the opportunity to do it before the pandemic shut it down.
Hmm. Yes, and should you win that one, um what should you win that one? What were you gonna get?
Um, if I had one, it would have given me other performance opportunities, and there would have been a cash prize and the opportunity to work with those specific choreographers that were the judges.
But it got canceled during the during the season.
Yes, yeah, unfortunately. The
Oh.
government said we had to shut everything down for in person events such as that on that grand scale, just because it was unsafe during the times of the pandemic.
Yes, and tell me about those rounds.
Sure, absolutely. I recall performing my. I'm trying to remember the name of the song I performed it to now, actually. It was several years ago. But I remember which outfit I wore. I remember
Outside of
um,
Inner Light or I put a spell on you.
I put a spell on you. Yes.
Yeah, there we go.
Um, There was actually a live singer that was on the stage with me that sang I Put a
Ah,
Spell on You. Her name's Valerie Stenois, and she was incredible. So that was the first time I was actually given the opportunity to collaborate with a singer and to perform live with someone else with me on stage in that setting. So that was amazing. Um, and that was my more basic routine. There wasn't really a story to it. It was more so a collaboration where she said, would like to sing the song, and I think it would be nice if you perform these contortion skills at the same time. And it was more so just trick after trick with no real storyline to it. Inner Light, it was a personal piece that I had put together, and the story in it was truly real. Um, I believe I'm going into a little bit of the questions later on that you wanted to ask me.
mhm.
But feel free if you want to stop me and I'll let you ask your questions that you need.
Yeah, yeah, we can say that for later, but sorry about that.
Yeah, no worries at all.
Okay. And it seems you are your own choreographer for these dances. What's that like?
I enjoy choreographing my routines. It's a challenge for myself personally because it's difficult to get out of the routine of just doing the same sequences and the same skills over and over. It's important you need to challenge yourself to try to change things up and to bring something new to the table every single time that you perform. So the majority of the time when I'm performing a solo performance, so a solo being when I'm the only contortionist performing on the stage. And it's just me and my song, and that's it. I become my own boss, and to the audience members, to my bosses who hire me from the circus company, they don't necessarily, they're always happy with it, but they don't necessarily know if I am challenging myself or not. They're always happy with the performance that I provide. However, I enjoy being my own choreographer because it means that I can always improve myself time and time again, always bringing something new to the table.
Nice, nice. And then take me through the process of choreographing your routines.
Absolutely. So, as I sort of touched on earlier on, sometimes there's just a song, and sometimes there's a theme that I have to perform for. So, sometimes, for example, I performed at a charity event called the Butterfly Effect. So, sometimes they're like, oh, we'd like it to be butterfly themed. So, that's pretty simple. You pick a piece of music and you think about specific skills that really embody what a butterfly would look like. So, a simple example. Other times, you're not really given a theme. And sometimes you're able to just express yourself entirely and you can tell a story of your own choosing. And that's honestly my favorite part of being a performer is when you can showcase whatever you would like. So sometimes I can tell a personal story with my work, and that means that I can quite literally do any skill I would like. And that's my favorite type.
And you've done this dance for yes, we can talk about in Inner Light now. And what was it like when you practiced it?
Yes, absolutely. So for those who don't know, this inner light piece, I was actually performing in a straitjacket. And
Hmm.
so when I was in rehearsal, I was doing open gym settings at a circus studio where there were other people also sharing the space. I got a lot of strange looks from people. They were sort of wondering, like, okay, what's with the straitjacket? Why is she working with this? This is a really strange thing to see a contortionist be working with. Um, but I just continued to work on it myself. I just stayed in my solitude, and I was happy to be working on it on my own. Um, yeah, that's the hard part within this industry. Sometimes there can be some judgmental people, and it's up to you to just keep your head up high and to continue pushing through.
Nice. And I believe you've done sort of like that in the Bender Break documentary you were in.
Yes, that's right. The Bender Break documentary is actually about a health condition that I have. It's called Ehlers-Danlos syndrome.
Yeah.
And I was very grateful to be brought in for authentic representation for this documentary. It was amazing to work as well with Mitch Marto, who's now a dear friend of mine. Um, he's the whole reason why that documentary came together. It's showcasing his life story. And there was a portion of that documentary which talked about his mental health struggles. And he actually was put into a mental health institution, where from back in the day it would have been considered an asylum. Um, so, and I don't, I think he was physically restrained at some points. Back in the day, they would have put him in a straitjacket. Nowadays, I don't know if it's always to that extent. However, for the film, they realized that I already had a straitjacket and I had experience working with it. And they really wanted me to utilize that tool to showcase how much he was struggling within this documentary.
Mhm. And speak of EDS, I'm amazed you make something positive. You made something positive out of this.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
And
Yeah.
and oh, you were gonna say something?
Yeah, that's okay. I think you asked me earlier on, why do you do what you do? And that's probably the main reason why. I enjoy making other people happy. But for me personally, before I got into telling you about EDS, for me, it turned something what other people would deem as a negative in my life. I enjoy turning it into a positive aspect of my life instead.
Nice. And how is doing contortion the reason why you aren't in a wheelchair?
Sorry, can you repeat that one more time, please? How is
Okay,
contortion the reason why
you
I'm
aren't in a wheelchair.
Oh, okay, great question. I believe that was brought up actually in my Canada's Got Talent segment.
That's right.
Um, so, contortion, what it does is it helps me to strengthen my muscles at my end ranges. So, with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, it creates connective tissue laxity. It's a connective tissue disease. So there's laxity within my entire body. The glue that's supposed to hold my body together, it doesn't work properly.
Ooh,
So I need to work extra, extra hard to strengthen my muscles to literally keep my body and my joints together. I've mentioned I've dealt with dislocations. If I don't keep my body strong, I deal with chronic dislocations if I don't work really hard. So contortion also involves strength-based skills such as handstands is an example. Um, my doctors have told me I'm at a very special EDS clinic in Toronto. It's called the Good Hope EDS Clinic. They have told me that I'm in the best shape compared to anyone else that they've ever seen with this condition. And they truly believe it's because I've stayed active my entire life and I've kept my muscles so strong where my overall health is doing much better compared to others with the same condition who unfortunately haven't been given the same opportunities to stay as active.
mm. Yes, and even if there's different kinds of EDS, what do you think is your advice to people who are experiencing the same thing?
I would say it's incredibly important to listen to your own body and to take notes, to track everything down, and to make certain to advocate for yourself. Um, when it was first suspected for me, I was only 12 years old when I had my first dislocation. I had actually dislocated a hip.
Oh,
Um, and it took me so long to recover from that. Um, and I it took around a decade to actually get proper treatment for EDS and to actually get a proper diagnosis. I believe I was around 21 when I was officially diagnosed, but it was suspected when I was 12 years old. And it took that long to actually get in to see the specialist who understood what EDS was. Um, on average, it takes about 13 years usually to get a proper diagnosis. That's the average, that's the statistic. So I would say nowadays medicine is evolving, it's getting better. There's more understanding revolved around it. And do your best to always advocate for yourself and write everything down and take pictures, showcase what's actually happening. And that's how you'll get the help that you need. And that's how you'll be able to manage your symptoms to the best of your ability.
okay. And all right. So back to so that's great, by the way. And
Hmm.
and but and let's get back to inner light. when you did this dance, it seems you tried to get out of that straitjacket. But when it seems you almost made it out, by the end you went back to right where it started. What's the message you're giving here?
That is a fantastic question. I believe you're the first person who has asked me this question.
Thanks.
And so I love that. Um, the storyline behind this piece, Inner Light, it was about who I am as a person and as an artist. And I've always walked to the beat of my own drum. I have never truly followed the crowd and done what everyone else has done. I haven't necessarily done what other people wanted me to do either. I have followed my own path and my own dreams. So with the straitjacket, some people would deem me crazy or strange, quirky, unique. I'm doing air quotes with these terms. Um, and essentially, in society's eyes, back in the day, they would have put me in a straitjacket with some of the things that I do for a living. Um, and the whole message here is if I try to conform to society's expectations, to society's norms, I would essentially learn to give up parts of myself that I don't want to give up. So this piece is showcasing that inner battle. Um, so as I am taking off the straitjacket and I'm trying to get out, it's me fighting with wanting to conform to society's norms. And in the end, I choose to just be myself. So I put on the straitjacket again and I decide it doesn't matter what other
Oh,
people think. I'm going to continue to be myself and to follow my inner light. And it doesn't matter what other people think I should be doing. I should just stick to my own path, stick to my own dreams, no matter if people think they're crazy or not.
um, that's kind of interesting. Until that's kind of interesting because when I saw that dance, I thought it was more like struggling to get out, but until you mention it, it's just trying to be yourself. It's interesting.
Yes, it was also important to me that I also did the opposite of what people expected, what I would have done. Most people who do a straitjacket routine, even magicians, illusionists, their goal is to always get out of it. So I wanted to do the exact opposite, and I wanted to put myself back into it at the end.
Huh, interesting. And why choose Eyes of Fire as your dance song?
Eyes of Fire, quite literally to me, meant the judgment and the watchful eye from other people. And the lyrics within the song, they really resonated with me with specific aspects of quite literally just trying to be myself and other people and their judgments, trying to place those upon me. Um, so, yes, Eyes of Fire can also mean jealousy, resentment, controlling aspects of my life. Um, yes, I do believe that song truly led to that project. When I heard that song the first time, I knew that I needed to do something creative to it.
Oh, that's great. And now that you mentioned everything, how do you tell stories with your dances?
Hmm. I have been an actor since I was very young. I started out in theater shows, and then I got into more TV and film work into my late teen years. Um, Acting has always been a big part of my life, and I would say it comes fairly naturally to me in a sense where I'm able to put myself in the shoes of whichever character I'm trying to portray. And when you are putting yourself in those shoes, we call this method acting. And so when I'm telling stories, it's because I am imagining that I'm putting myself in the shoes of this character and everything comes out naturally, wholeheartedly, and I'm truly trying to share everything that comes up, all the feelings that come up, they just come up to the surface and everyone is able to see that based on my facial expressions, my body language. And then when we're able to do physical aspects as well, such as specific movements that can also portray emotions and feelings, that's truly how stories can come about through dances and through performances.
Mm, nice. And now that you mentioned films, so would you like to share more about the experience in one of the movies you were in, and what's it like being a movie,
And what's it like
being in a movie?
being in a movie?
Yes.
Absolutely. So the most recent film that I worked on that was released is called Whistle. And
Yep.
so in this film, I was actually two characters. Um, for one character, I was the crone. This is one of the main monsters, essentially in the film. I was essentially the dead version of the character Grace, um, and I had to be an old crone. I had to have I had to pull away actually from the more creature side that I would usually be drawn to. And the director actually wanted me to be more human like with some of my movements. So that was a fantastic challenge for me as an actor. Um, the other character that I was the dead version of Ellie, and she actually had diabetic seizures. So to dive into that character, I actually had to have seizures on screen. Um, so to dive into that kind of research and to see how seizures were showcased in TV and film. And it was interesting to see how I had to bring that to life, but also in a horror manner, because it's very different from how it'll be portrayed in a medical TV show versus in an emphasized way as a horror creature. I really enjoy diving into the character development of both of those characters. And it was absolutely incredible working with Corin Hardy. He was the director. He was the most hands-on director I've ever worked with. He quite literally got on his hands and knees when he was trying to explain to us as creature actors specifically what he was looking for. He had the vision in his mind, and it was our goal to just make certain that we truly made that whole vision of his come to life.
Nice. And I guess it's for full circle for you because growing up you love to you love to scare your parents. Now you're a creature actor with opportunities now.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Definitely feels like a full circle moment. From the first time I watched The Exorcist to now being the scary thing on the screen. Yeah, I actually had a small family and friend screening at the start of February that my dad hosted for my family members, and yeah, absolutely full circle moment just to see um, how my dad responded when he watched the movie for the first time.
Nice, nice. And speaking of Whistle, I believe Nick Frost is there. Did you get to see him?
Yes, yeah, he was on
Yeah.
set at the same time. I didn't speak with him too much. I was actually blind when I was on set because I had these contact lenses in my eyes, so I was entirely blind. So there were people who would come up and talk to me, but I wouldn't actually be able to see who they were. Um, I don't believe I spoke with him, but from what I do know, he was very kind when he was on set.
Nice. And this is like the second time you were blind. The first time you were in Griff, right?
The first time I was
The first time you were blind, you were in Griff, right?
I was wearing Griff. Sorry, I can't
I'm
hear you.
sorry, I'm sorry. You were in this movie Griff where honestly I did my homework. Sorry,
Oh,
sorry.
Grief. Grief. Yes.
Griff, yeah.
Sorry. Yes, I was in a movie called Grief. And yes, you're correct. I was blind that time as well. Yes, they put this mesh over top of my eyes to make my
Oh,
eyes blacked out, but they had basically glued it around my eyes like this. So a different experience from wearing contact lenses. But absolutely, that was my second time having to be blind in a film.
mhm. Okay, okay. All right. So is it true that you do coaching? Which is true. So what's it like?
Yes, it is true. I'm very fortunate because I get to work with the pre professionals of the industry. we get to harness their skills and their passions. I work at Circuit Work It, which is
Mhm.
a local circus school out in Mississauga. It's not too far away from Toronto. And we're working with the pre-professional program. They call it the ITP program, which stands for the Intensive Training Program. And it's amazing to watch the students grow from a young age to see them becoming professionals. And then I get to perform alongside them in the future, so it'll be amazing.
Nice, nice. And you're also co-chair of the Disability Alliance subcommittee for ACTRA. What's your role like?
Yes. I more recently started. I've been a part of the committee for less than a year now. But my role is coming up with different initiatives that can truly help the industry and can help people who are disabled actors to navigate the industry a little bit easier. I've created documents, and we're creating some specific modules that will be in place for actors that are mandatory to take in the onboarding process when they become a part of the union. Um, there's some education components there to teach people what people with disabilities actually need when they're working on set, because unfortunately, working on sets, they're not very accessible to start off with. So our job is to try to make them as accessible as possible.
Nice. And how does it feel being in Canada's Got Talent?
Hmm. Canada's Got Talent was an amazing experience. It really helped me to get more work afterwards, and everyone was very positive and very kind there. Um, and yes, the amount of traction that that video got, it actually really helped me for specific performances. Afterwards, they had requested to see the exact Canada's Got Talent performance at other shows afterwards. So that was an interesting experience for sure, to get to perform it again and again and again on so many different stages.
Yes. And are you thinking of going to AGT, Cirque du Soleil, or Royal Canadian Circus?
Great question. So because I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, um, a lot of these larger companies, they have policies in place where
Oh,
they can't necessarily take on people who have pre-existing health conditions, because to them it might be considered a liability issue. Um, so completely understandable. It just means that I wouldn't be able to audition for the larger touring shows, but it means that I can audition for the corporate shows or the shorter contracts. So I've been involved not with those companies specifically, but with other larger circus companies where I've still been able to perform and do this full time, but I just don't go off and do the contracts for 6 months to a year at a time.
okay. So right now it's tough for people these days to find jobs. If they want to go the same path as you, what are the things they can do right now to practice?
I would say to do their very best to find a coach. There's a lot of people who, within this industry, they were self taught and they just worked really hard to get to where they are. But I would say to fast track that, now we have so many more resources, especially due to the pandemic, which brought on a lot of online coaching services now. So now, wherever you are in the world, if you want a coach, if you need a coach, you can easily find access to a fantastic coach online now. Um, yeah, it's so much safer to learn all of these skills safely with the watchful eye of a coach than it is to try to learn these skills by yourself.
So, sorry. So Sophie Dawsey, she mentioned that she was self-taught. Is it possible to be a self-taught contortionist?
It is. It is possible to be a self-taught contortionist. I know with Sophie Dawsey specifically, I wouldn't say she's entirely self-taught. She my gymnastics coach from back in the day, he actually knew her gymnastics coach. So she came from a gymnastics background and she was naturally flexible. And so by self-taught, I think she more so referenced to the specific contortion skills. Um, because she already had training in gymnastics, I think she could easily convert to doing contortion. Sometimes on AGT, they also um, really make those stories a lot more dramatic than what they actually are. Um,
Oh,
yeah, just a little truth and little secrets behind the industry here. But yeah, absolutely, it is possible to be a self-taught contortionist. Unfortunately, I would say there's more injuries that happen that way, just because you
oh.
don't necessarily know um, how you're getting into skills safely, and sometimes that's how injuries can happen when you don't understand what you're doing. It's very intense on the body. I'll say, unfortunately, I've seen people who are trying to learn a chest stand, which is one of the classic contortion skills. It's where you're on your chin and on your chest, and your feet come forwards in front of you on the ground. I've seen someone learning that skill by themselves, and unfortunately, they actually fainted in that skill because you're bending your neck so far back that there's nerves that are in there. Where if you don't know how to properly access the muscles to support your neck, and if you're just folding into those parts of your neck, it can be dangerous. So that's why I always suggest to find a coach.
So my mom just told me that contortion is a hard thing, right?
Yes, yes, contortion is an art form.
Ah, okay. And what does the work you do right now mean to you?
Right now, it means to me that I'm able to keep my body strong, which is the most important aspect of my quality of life. However, I love that I'm able to also share it with other people by means of coaching other people, and I get to harness those passions. But when I'm performing, I also allow other people to be able to escape the stressors of their everyday lives. And I think that's what's the most important. Um, I find when people are able to go to watch a circus show and they're able to escape from their stress and their anxiety, it truly helps their quality of life as well. And it's just amazing to have that impact on others.
Mhm. And why should people go to a circus show?
Uh, they should go to a circus show not only for their own enjoyment, but also to support artists. Artists have been an essential part of entertainment since the beginning of time. We've always had dancers, we've had actors, even circus. We've had so many different forms of entertainment, and we've noticed, especially within the pandemic, how integral it is to have the arts as part of our lives. Even listening to music, it's so important to support the arts and to allow them to continue.
That's nice. And I guess that's it for the questions. Are you ready for quick fire? Answer questions quickly in under 90 seconds.
Whew, let's do it.
Oh, yeah, let's go. Okay. Okay, here we go. Toria, one word to describe yourself.
Adaptable.
Hmm. What is your best contortion tip?
Find your breath within your skills.
Ah, favorite contortion trick?
The spider chest stand.
Ooh. Best artist you love to listen to?
Sia. Fun
Ah,
fact, she also has Ehlers-Danlos syndrome.
ooh. One everyday item you can't leave without.
KT tape or sports tape.
What's that?
Kinesiology tape.
Ah, got it. Mantra in life.
Create your own reality. And I actually have a Viking symbol tattoo of it on my finger.
Ooh. Best place in Ontario for a good meal.
My personal favorite is Swiss Chalet.
Okay, okay. And best place in Ontario to go road tripping or travel.
I would say Elora, Ontario, is a beautiful little town.
Mm. One song that uplifts you.
One song that
Uplifts you.
uplifts you. Okay.
Yeah.
Warrior by Avril Lavigne.
Hmm. And contortion tricks you'd love to learn.
A contortion press up to a handstand.
Mm.
So it would be from a chest stand, push up into a handstand.
Oh, nice.
Very
All right,
difficult.
all right. That's it. All right, that's it for the quick fire. Are you ready for the screenshot?
Yeah, sure.
All right, here we go. All right, all right.
Awesome.
Thank you, Toria. Any last thoughts or comments?
I would love to ask what led you to asking me to be interviewed.
Honestly, I just honestly it was out of random and just yeah, just to get people on my podcast.
Very cool. Very cool.
Hmm.
Well,
And
thank you so much for asking me. I'm happy to spend the time here today with you.
uh, you're welcome. And you like the question so far?
Absolutely. Yes. Very well researched.
Thanks. And anywhere we can find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Flexy,
Yep.
FLEXY_T. Or you can find me on my website, www.flexy-t.ca.
All right,
Those are
thanks.
my two main.
Again, thank you for coming to the Meetup Spot, Tori.
Thank you so much for having me, Nigel. I really appreciate it.
I appreciate it too. Thank you. Oh, yeah. All right.